Ladies and gentlemen just walking their dog walk past said, "Are you mad?" I think maybe I am. Good morning. Welcome again to Dovercourt. I hope you can hear me okay. It's a windy day. Beautiful sunrise. We're at sunrise and the weather forecast has been interesting. Last night I was looking at the weather apps and it was saying the weather was going to be like this. In other words, lots of clouds. And then last night, so I thought I won't come here. And then last night, it changed and said there's going to be about 60% cloud, which is perfect. So I thought I'd come out and try Dovercourt Lighthouse, but as you can see, the clouds come in. But there is a little bit of light just about in the clouds here, which is really exciting. So I initially didn't think this was going to be very good, but it looks all right. I've been here before, as you know, and I just lost my dog Archie, so it was a bit of a kind of a black and white, long exposure-y kind of feel to it. This one though, I'm hoping it's going to be a bit more dramatic. So I've gone up on the ISO on this because there is a little bit of wave action. I know from my research, and planning is really important, that the tide is coming in, and you can see actually it's quite a nice beach to photograph this because it's quite steep, so it doesn't come in that quickly, but you can see where it's wet on the pebbles here. So I can see where the tide has been. I know it's going to probably come in a foot or so, maybe every 10 minutes. So I might end up back further up the beach, but I think it's almost at high tide now. And I quite like these groins with a bit of action. So I've upped the ISO because I'm getting something like a quarter of a second, eighth of a second, almost a 15th, because what I'm trying to do is freeze those waves when they hit the groins. Which I'll show you here. It's about doing a load. You're taking the delay off. So I've done a load like that, and what I'm going to do now is just going to do something a little bit longer, so the exposure, the ISO is going to come down, the shutter speed is going to go longer, so we're going to blur this water out. Careful not to lose the camera, and try and get some of this swooshery in the front here, because the clouds are actually really interesting. They are really, really dark and grey. There's not a lot of light about as far as sunrise light, but the clouds are really textured and really angry. So it's another one of those that I can really darken down and have fun with. There is a little bit of hint of colour, which won't be here for very long. So I'm going to get and shoot that, and I'll come back to you in a second. Okay, so for this we've got no delay on, f13. I'm focusing on these groins in here. I've got the wide angle on, so I'm on 14, what am I on? About 18 mil here. Let's go wider. Get more sky in. So I'm wide open here on the focal length, 14 mil, pretty much a 50-50 crop on this, which works. So it's tight, that's not tight, let's tighten everything up. And now what I need to do is wait for a wave to come in to shot. Exposure is 1.5 seconds at f13, which will give me a nice bit of backwash. I need something to come up here now, so it's a case of, this could be it, just anticipating it. That one might be nice. Not close enough. And it's often the backwash that works the best. So when the wave is going back out again, and it's about being brave with your tripod. I don't want to lose the camera in the water, obviously, but with a wide angle lens you need to be really close in. That worked okay. The backwash is the bit that works best. Now every so often you'll find there's a really quick wave. Morning.
You nuts?
Yes. Oh, definitely, yeah. I'm definitely nuts. Oh, now it's raining. Nothing on the lens though. Oh. Ah. Oh. So I put the camera away because it's now sleeting from this side, so I've got the camera facing that way. And actually the clouds have now kind of just gone very blank because that weather front's coming in, and all of the sleet and the rain is over there behind the lighthouse, so it's any text I had in the clouds has completely vanished. But I think we got some pictures, so what I'm gonna do now is put everything away. I'm gonna scout out another location which I found in Justin Minz's book, and I'll put that here because these little photo view books, or these big photo view books, are really good value. They're brilliant for photographers. They find locations for you, things that you've never seen before. And I've lived in Essex all my life, and there's a couple of little long exposures which I didn't know about. So I'm going to go and suss them out now. And I was going to photograph Clacton Pier from above with the drone, but until this weather passes, that ain't going to work, because you can't really have the drone, or you can't have the drone out in anything that's wet because it will just crash. The motors will short out, so that's probably not going to work. But this weather is not supposed to be here. If you look at the forecast, that was 5 o'clock this morning. It is. So, right, let's put the cameras away, and I'll see you at the next location. What a day. I'm just about to go back to the car and it stopped, and there's some really lovely light over the lighthouse, so I photographed it, but I had the wide angle on, which is probably not the best, but you can make a nice 16-24 out of this, so I'll show you that in a second. But there's some lovely light. I know there's a wind farm right out in the distance, and hello, and that was lit up beautifully, so that might be very good. But this kind of conditions where there's a storm, they're perfect for photography. Or they're not perfect by any means, they're very difficult, but what happens is you can get some really good light on the ends or the fronts, or in some of the middle of these weather fronts. So I was just about to go and the rain has started to lash in again, so I put the cameras away, and now I'm stopping because I'm thinking of the rain that's come, that I can see it coming from over here, over by the docks there, and it came in, and it's still blowing through, and we've had sleet, but I'm hoping that, in fact on the horizon now by the docks it looks clear, so I'm hoping that this sleet, as you can hopefully see, is going to stop and the lighthouse might be really good. I think we're going to have to wait a few minutes. Oh, that really hurts on my face. I'm going to turn this way. Right, this is just ridiculous now, but I'm going to wait here on the beach. Hopefully this will just pass through and we'll be able to get some images. What a day. Oh, I've been absolutely battered. I mean, there's a bit of light showing over there now, but I don't really think it suits the mood. The dark, heavy sky that I had earlier was really good. So I've had a quick look at the image on the back of the camera, and I think I've got a couple of good ones I'm really pleased with. So, hands are freezing. It's intermittently sleeting and snowing, and actually I can now photograph this lighthouse in better light. So I don't think the light's that good now. I mean, it's okay. If I've never photographed it before, then it would certainly be worth doing. But I have photographed it before, and I've got the opportunity to photograph it again. So I'm going to go and have a look at those darker, moody ones and process them. And then what I'm going to do, actually, not going to do that first. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to another couple of locations. So one that Justin has put in the book, which I've just received. I'm going to suss that out. I'm sure I know where I'm going with it. I'm going to have a quick look at that and maybe come back tomorrow. And then I might, depending on the weather, go and photograph the pier. But in actual fact, it's looking very unlikely because the wind is very strong. And the picture involves a top-down shot of the pier. And then this weather, the drone's going to be high up. It's going to really struggle against this really high wind. And I don't want to risk anybody or certainly the drone. So this might all calm down, but it's been an interesting morning anyway. It's been a quite battle against the elements, but again, as I said earlier, in the elements is actually often the best time to come. When it's really, really windy and stormy, that's when the light is at its most dramatic. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it hopefully successful. I've still got in my pocket my 24 to 200, which I was going to put on the front of the camera, but I'm not going to attempt that. Certainly by the sand, with the water, the rain and the wind, it's just not going to be the best thing to do. So I'll put this back in the bag. If I change lenses, which I probably will, I'll change those and change that in the car. Right, here come the images, and next time I see you, hopefully I'll be sussing out a location ready for another shoot another day. Okay, so it's 30 minutes later and the storm, as it was, is kind of blown itself out, or it's somewhere else. So I'm really pleased with today. I got some really nice pictures. Oops, I'm just wandering around looking for this long exposure picture, which I've read in Justin's book, which you should go and check out. It's extremely muddy. That's the first thing I've discovered. It's good to scout things out before you actually go in the dark, because sunrise obviously involves arriving, my word, involves arriving in the darkness, and it's nice to know what you're up against. For instance, I've already discovered that for this image I need wellies on at this time of year because it's filthy, really, really deep mud. Now, I've had a look on, the other thing that I've done is had a look on Google Maps and Google Earth, and if you do that, you can kind of trace roughly where you're going, which is also useful. And now all I need to do really is just walk over, have a look, to do two things. First of all, to discover whether I think it's worth photographing, and secondly, to discover how high the tide needs to be. So it's high tide at the moment, about half an hour off, which I'll be able to visualise, and I can see what it looks like when the tide is at this level, which will then determine if I come back to photograph it and when I come back to photograph it. So here it is. I've discovered this lovely old barge or old boat, which is stuck in the mud. So got an interesting composition, which I'll show you now, with that other little yacht behind it. Now I haven't got the tripod with me today because this is just a scouting mission, and to be honest, I know the tide needs to be quite high. But what have I discovered? Well, I've discovered that I need to have wellies. I discovered that it's about a 10-minute walk. It's further than I thought, but I now know my way. And I also discovered that this is probably a high tide, so I need to have something over 5 meters. So it's on the list of places to come back to. It's certainly worth it. It's going to be a colour shot, I think, and it's really useful in that instance. It's been a worthwhile use of my time. I've also discovered what lens I need, so the 24-200 is going to be perfect, and there are also some steps down here, which I'll show you in a second, which means you can actually get to the beach such that it is. So I'm going to have a little suss out of that now, and until next time, thanks ever so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe and all that stuff. I'm on 750 now, so not long to go, hopefully, to that magic 1000. So thanks ever so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. See you next week. Goodbye.